It is 3 a.m. You are staring at a blank Google Doc or a textbook that hasn't moved in 3 hours. Your phone is face down on the desk, but you can practically feel it vibrating with the phantom itch of a notification you haven't even received yet. You've watched every aesthetic morning routine video on this platform. You've bought the overpriced Notion template. You've even tried waking up at 5 a.m. once, which just resulted in you being tired and unproductive for 16 hours instead of 8. You are doing everything the gurus told you to do, yet you still feel like you're running underwater. You feel lazy. You feel like maybe you just weren't built for success. But I am going to tell you something that might actually hurt to hear. It's not that you're lazy. In fact, laziness is a myth we tell ourselves to explain away a much bigger problem. The reason you are still stuck is something I call invisible friction. And if you don't learn how to see it, no amount of discipline is ever going to save you. Think about a car trying to drive with the parking brake on. You can slam your foot onto the gas pedal until the engine screams. You can burn through all your fuel. You can create a lot of noise and smoke, but the car isn't going to move an inch. That is exactly what you're doing to your brain every single day. You are applying massive amounts of willpower gas while your internal brakes are locked tight. You aren't a failure. You're just exhausted from fighting yourself. In this video, we are going to perform a full diagnostic on your life. I'm going to show you exactly where those hidden brakes are located. In your room, in your phone, and in your own head. More importantly, I'm going to show you how to snap them off so you can finally start moving without the burnout. Because once you understand the physics of productivity, you realize that trying harder is actually the worst way to get things done. Most of us treat productivity like a test of character. We think if we just wanted it more, we'd be more consistent. But let's look at your desk right now, or look at your browser tabs. If you have 20 tabs open while trying to write one essay, that isn't a lack of focus. That is environmental friction. Every open tab is a tiny thread pulling at your cognitive load. Your brain is literally spending energy just remembering those tabs exist. It's like trying to run a marathon while carrying 20-pound weights in each hand. You're wondering why you're tired after 2 miles when the person next to you looks fine. Well, they aren't carrying the weights. They aren't better than you. They just have less friction. This is the first law of the friction framework. Your environment is either a wind at your back or a wall in your face. There is no middle ground. We need to talk about the decision gap. This is the first major source of invisible friction that ruins creators and students alike. Every time you sit down to work and ask yourself, what should I start with? You have already lost. That single question requires a massive amount of executive function. You are forcing your brain to scan your entire life, prioritize tasks, assess deadlines, and then commit to one thing. By the time you've actually picked a task, your willpower battery is already at 50%. You haven't even typed a word yet, but you're already mentally taxed. This is why you end up scrolling TikTok for 20 minutes before starting. It's not because you love the app. It's because your brain is trying to escape the friction of making a decision. So here is the fix you can implement tonight, the zero entry rule. Before you go to sleep, you have to eliminate the first 3 decisions of the next day. Don't just say you're going to study. Decide exactly which book, which page, and which pen you are going to use. Physically lay them out. Open the document on your laptop and leave the cursor blinking in the exact spot where you need to start. You want to make the path of least resistance the path toward your goals. If you have to spend 5 minutes looking for your charger or cleaning your desk before you start, you've created a friction point that will eventually make you quit. You want to make starting so mind-bendingly easy that it would actually be more effort to avoid the task than to just do it. Imagine if your gym clothes were already on your body when you woke up. The friction of getting ready is gone. Apply that logic to everything. But even if you fix your environment, there is a second, much deadlier type of friction. I call it emotional drag. This is the guilt you feel about the work you didn't do yesterday. It's the voice in your head saying, you're already behind, so what's the point? This creates a cycle where the stress of being unproductive makes it physically painful to be productive. Have you ever avoided an email for 3 days just because you were embarrassed about how long it was taking you to reply? That is emotional drag. You are spending 10 times more energy worrying about the task than the task itself actually requires. It's a ghost that follows you around, whispering that you're a fraud. And the scary part? The longer you wait, the heavier that ghost gets. To break this, you have to adopt a forgiveness framework. It sounds soft, but it's actually pure logic. Beating yourself up is a form of friction. It serves no functional purpose. If you wasted the morning, the most productive thing you can do is instantly forgive yourself and start a 5-minute timer. Just 5 minutes. That's it. We call this the 5-minute rule because the human brain is terrified of big, ambiguous projects, but it can handle 5 minutes of anything. Once you start, the friction of beginning disappears and momentum takes over. Physics tells us that objects in motion stay in motion. Your only job isn't to finish the marathon, it's to move the car 1 inch. Once the car is rolling, the engine doesn't have to work nearly as hard. Let's get real about your digital life for a second, because this is where 90% of your friction is manufactured. Every notification is a friction spike. Even if you don't check your phone, the act of resisting the urge to check it uses up your glucose levels. You are literally burning physical energy to ignore a buzzing piece of plastic. This is why you feel fried at the end of a day where you seemingly did nothing. You were in a constant state of micro-resistance. You were fighting 1,000 tiny battles against your own curiosity. If you want to actually enter a flow state, you have to realize that flow isn't something you do. It's something that happens when you remove all the distractions. It's the default state of the human mind when friction is zero. Now, let's talk about the creator's paradox. If you are trying to build a YouTube channel, a TikTok presence, or a brand, you are dealing with a specific type of friction called analysis paralysis. You spend hours looking at what other people are posting. You see their high-end lighting, their perfect scripts, and their massive view counts. This creates a massive friction gap between where you are and where you think you should be. You tell yourself you can't start until you have the Sony a7S III or a dedicated studio. That is a lie. That is your brain creating friction to protect you from the possibility of failing. If you never start, you can't fail, right? But if you never start, you've already failed by default. The secret to breaking the creator's paradox is low-fidelity output. Your goal shouldn't be to make a masterpiece. It should be to make something so basic that it's impossible to mess up. Record on your phone, use natural light. Don't edit for 10 hours. Just get the friction of not being a creator out of the way. Once you are someone who creates, then you can worry about being someone who creates well. There is also the biological break. Most students and creators treat their bodies like a machine that doesn't need maintenance. You drink 4 energy drinks, sleep 4 hours, and wonder why your brain feels like it's made of cotton. This is physiological friction. When you are sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, is essentially offline. You are trying to do high-level work with a low-level brain. You are fighting against millions of years of evolution. You can't hustle your way out of biology. If you want to eliminate friction, you need to treat sleep, hydration, and movement as non-negotiable parts of your workflow. They aren't breaks from work, they're the fuel that makes the work possible. A 1-hour nap can often save you 4 hours of staring blankly at a screen. That is the ultimate friction hack. Let's look at your social friction. Who are you talking to every day? If your friends are constantly pulling you into games or drama or late-night hangouts when you know you have work to do, they are a massive source of drag. It's hard to stay focused when the people around you are actively rewarding your distractions. You don't have to cut everyone off, but you do need to create frictional boundaries. Tell your friends, hey, I'm offline from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Put your phone in another room. By adding physical distance between you and the social pressure, you reduce the friction of saying no. I want you to try a friction audit tonight. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down every time you felt stuck today. On the right side, identify the friction point. Was it because you didn't know where to start? Was it because your phone was in your hand? Was it because you were afraid of failing? Most of the time, the solution isn't more discipline. The solution is a better system. If you keep snacking on junk food, don't try to have more willpower, just stop buying junk food. If you keep procrastinating on
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.